What's up? Coach Montel here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about why your diet isn't helping you lose weight anymore. This is a huge one right here because if you've been on a diet for any length of time, you know that typically what happens is you'll see initial fat loss in the beginning. It'll inspire you to stay consistent and motivated, and you'll continue to keep it going, but then the scale kind of stops. Like, the progress kind of stalls out. And it's like, okay, I lost 10 pounds my first 3 weeks, and I've lost 2 pounds since then, and the week after that I lost just 1 pound, and now I haven't lost any weight in 3 weeks. Like, it slowly starts to stall out, and the less you see in terms of numbers going on the scale, the less motivated you get, and the more likely you are to fall off. So I want to explain a little bit about why this happens and how you can fix it so that you can have steady progress and get you to your long-term goal. All right, so if you're watching on YouTube and you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do that and turn post notifications on so you don't miss anything. And if you're on IG, make sure that you hit that follow button. Make sure that you turn post notifications on here so that you don't miss anything as well, because you got to get this info in to hit your goals. So first off, like I said, breaking down why this happens, why you can diet for months and still not necessarily drop body fat or lose weight, or the scale just kind of stops. And the biggest reason why is simple. It's metabolic adaptation. Our bodies are masters of compensation. Our bodies are experts at doing just enough to survive, just enough to maintain the status quo, meaning same weight, same strength, same energy, whatever the case may be. It tries its hardest to keep you where you are, to keep you as normal as your current normal condition is. And what happens when you are on a diet or when you're in a caloric deficit, which is what is required to lose weight, your body quickly adapts, especially if the caloric deficit is drastic. If you're 600, 700, 800 calories below what your daily caloric intake should be for maintenance, your caloric deficit is pretty drastic, meaning that your body is going to have to quickly adapt to this. And this is why you'll see this initial fat loss, because you're super deep in a deficit. Your glycogen stores are depleted, which essentially just means that you're not holding on to nearly as much water weight, so you're losing a lot of your water weight. Also losing weight this fast, you're going to lose some of that muscle and that muscle mass as well. You may lose a little bit of fat in there, but an extremely drastic caloric deficit is typically the reason for that quick fat loss, but it's also the reason that you stall out. You shock your body so much that it will produce that initial stimulus by dropping fat, by dropping weight, but then after that, it quickly rambles and tries to adapt, and it does that by literally halting your metabolism. Like the energy and the processes that you expend energy through or calories through every single day, they're just going to start to come to a screeching halt. And this is when you're going to start to feel this loss of energy. You're going to start to feel lethargic. You're going to want to, I'm going to break down exactly how we utilize these strategies and how they're so impactful to your long-term success. All right, first off is taking a diet break. I know you're probably thinking, well, I'm on a diet, I'm trying to lose weight. If I took a break, wouldn't it take longer? I mean, essentially, yes, it may take a little longer, but being in a steep and drastic deficit, or even a slight deficit, if it's over a long period of time, eventually your body becomes adapted to that. Your body becomes familiarized with that, and you're not going to be able to make the same progress because metabolism is going to slow to match the amount of food that you've made a habit of consuming. What a diet break does is we bring our calories back up to maintenance level. So if you're eating 1,500 calories a day because your maintenance calories are 2,000, now you'll take your calories back up to 2,000 calories, and you'll consume that for a week, 2 weeks. It just depends on where you are in your journey, how long you've been doing it, when the last time you took a diet break was, whatever the case may be. But what this does is it gets your metabolism ramped up, because now your body has to work harder to consume a higher amount of food, which means that more calories are burned and expended, which means our metabolism starts to ramp up. Now all of a sudden we're not in hibernation mode. It's a little almost more like overdrive, because we're consuming these foods. Obviously they have to be clean, they have to be healthy, you have to have a high protein diet, consume foods that are high in thermic effect. All these things still apply, but when you consume a higher amount of food than your body is typically used to, as long as it's maintenance level, then what's going to happen is you're going to start to burn more calories as a result of having to consume that food, having the enhanced energy because of that food, the carbs especially that you're going to be getting in. You're going to have more glycogen stores, which contributes to energy. And more energy means that you're going to get up and walk around more. It means that you may be more open to take a walk. It means that you may burn more calories in your workout. All of these things play a factor, and it's going to start to drive your metabolism up, whereas it's been down. It's been, like I said, in hibernation mode essentially the entire time of your diet. And then after a week or 2 weeks, what you're going to do is drop back down into your deficit. Once your body has adapted to that amount of food that you consume, we drop back down into our 1,500 calorie deficit. Now we're in a 500 calorie deficit, which is a pound of fat lost a week. And your metabolism is still extremely high or higher as a result of this diet break. And now you're able to get back into your fat loss phase, whereas you may have put on maybe a half a pound of body fat over the course of those 2 weeks. But now you stay within that caloric deficit for 3-4 weeks. We've dropped another, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds over the course of that time frame, probably even more because your glycogen stores are going to be depleted. So you'll probably drop a lot more than that as well, just depending on where you are. But this is a great way to make sure that we keep the scale tipping, that we get closer to where we want to be, is a diet break. And they're extremely important for anybody that's been dieting for a long length of time. Sometimes we need a metabolic reset, and a diet break is the best way to get that done. And the second thing that we can do to kickstart our fat loss again, we kickstart our weight loss if it's stalled out, is carb cycling. Now, there are a lot of studies on this, and some people go back and forth in terms of its effectiveness and in terms of if it actually matters. Because at the end of the day, calories in, calories out, energy balance is the most important aspect of fat loss and weight loss. But carb cycling does play a factor, because if you can, which carb cycling just essentially means eating a higher amount of carbs at certain days or certain times, and eating a lower amount of carbs on certain days and certain times. And one big culprit for weight gain, because we're not just necessarily talking about fat, we're talking about overall weight gain, is water retention. Water retention is a huge thing. And even though it may not be fat, water weight shows up on a scale. It shows up in how your clothes fit. It shows up in your face. It shows up in your midsection. You have all these areas where you can see this held on to water weight. And even though it's not fat, and it's not fat, it can still be kind of disheartening to have that situation. And you just would rather not be bloated, or you would rather not be holding on to all of this water all the time. And carb cycling is a great way to do that, because if you know, for instance, that you're training 4 days a week, so you know that 4 days a week you'll eat a higher carb amount. You may consume 35 to 55% of your calories in carbs on the days that you train, but on your other 3 days you may consume a lower amount of carbohydrates as a result. And what this means is, when you're training, it gives you the energy to give your absolute best in your workouts, which is extremely important. But on the days that you're not training, you don't have that same need to get in a lot of carbs. As a result, you can make your carbs lower. You can go, 30%, 20%, 15%, whatever. You can make your carbs as low as is necessary for you to kind of deplete those glycogen stores. And what that's going to do is, now pretty much all of your excess carbs are being used for energy, and your body isn't really holding on to and retaining a lot of them, and it's not really building up those glycogen stores, which adds to that water weight. So when you cycle them out, now all of a sudden you don't have any carbs left over, essentially, and it makes it much easier for your body to shut off that water weight, which will definitely reflect itself on the scale. It will reflect itself in your face and your midsection, and a lot of other areas, whatever other area you may be holding on to a lot of water at. So that is a huge one right there. And like I said earlier, it doesn't necessarily equate to dropping fat, but it will help us shed a lot of water weight and keep water weight off, which can keep you looking leaner. It can keep the muscles looking a little bit fuller and more defined, which is great for, especially if you've got something coming up, or you got a trip plan, you got an event plan, or if you just want to try it out and see how much more of an impact it makes to not be retaining all that water. It definitely works and it helps out in that way. All right, so that's it, squad. Like I said, my reasons why you may not be losing body fat even though you're on a diet, and how you can overcome those things. Calorie deficit is the most important thing. It's king, it's queen, it's whatever you want to call it. Energy balance will be the biggest aspect of losing fat. But unlike a lot of other coaches and trainers out here, I understand more than the words caloric deficit. I'm not going to just shove that down your throat and think that it's going to work like that. Like the human body is much more complex than just do this for an extended amount of time and you're going to get amazing results. Like, it doesn't work like that. There's nuance to it. There's a certain understanding that you have to develop, and there are certain things that you have to do to maintain the process of a caloric deficit all the way through in order to get long-term results. So if you guys got value from this video, please comment below. Let me know your number one takeaway. Let me know if you're going to utilize either a diet break or some carb cycling. And if you want more in-depth videos specifically on these two topics, on these two strategies, comment down below and I will do my best to make sure to get that out for you. Make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on, or follow me if you're watching on Instagram. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.